Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Time Bomb. This is part 2, module 2. We are going to start diving into the numbers and calculating what your time is worth. So starting off, we're going to talk about just the things that you do for work. And this is in your work day, and you want to start thinking about things that you do for work outside of work. So if that's answering emails, phone calls, et cetera, that would be considered part of your workday, even if you're at the family dinner or whatever, and you shouldn't be answering emails, but whatever, it happens. So anyway, we are going to start talking about the work rate. This is essentially your running rate. These are easier to determine because they are fairly objective. You can put a certain number of hours, you can assign hours to them, you can assign eventually a cost or a price to them in terms of what you would value that your time performing that versus paying somebody else. And that's what we're going to dive into first. So on the worksheet, we're going to just start brainstorming some of the tasks that you do within your business that are value add and non-value add. Now, the difference between those two things in work are what are the things that you're doing that are improving your business, generating revenue, cutting costs, increasing efficiencies, all of that type of stuff. What are the different things that you're doing that add value to your business? And that's what you want to think about when I say value add. Pretty simple there. The non-value add are going to be some of those things that you do behind the scenes that don't have a direct effect on those things like revenue or improvements, efficiencies, things like that. Stuff that's not bringing money into the business or cutting costs out of the budget. So that could be things like performing admin tasks like filing paperwork or organizing something, cleaning the office at the end of the day. You can even get into things like HR or like your pre and post sales work. Even though that's adding to sales, it's not directly adding to the bottom line. So that post sales work is entering stuff into a CRM, signing people up for mailing lists, things like that. So think about the difference between value add and non-value add and go into the worksheet. We're going to list the top 5 or just not even the top 5, just 5 of each. Just think of 5 tasks that are value add that you do in your business and 5 tasks that are non-value add that you are currently doing within your business. From there, you kind of want to think about what, how many hours a week that you do performing each of those tasks. So we're going to do it by week. So think about, okay, I spend 10 hours a week on phone calls with clients. I spend 2 hours a week doing back office maintenance. I spend 3 hours a week maintaining the website, whatever it is. Just think about that and put those for each of the tasks. So you're going to have your task. You're going to have whether or not it's a value add or non-value add. We're going to put the number of hours in there and then just estimate. We're not doing anything serious here. Just estimate what you think it costs to do that. So if you were to pay somebody to do that job, and if it's your own job, what do you think that cost should be? So if you think you're worth $150 an hour and you are doing sales, put that in there under the sales category. If you think cleaning the office at the end of every day is worth $100 to pay, a service, put that in there. So we're going to just do that for that. So you've got your task, your value add, non-value add, the hours, and then the essentially what that cost per hour would be. What's going to happen is we're going to get a calculation of a value add rate and a non-value add rate that we're going to use a little bit later. The next, there's a couple other ways that you can get a number to determine what your time is worth. And we're going to run through a couple of those because what we want to do is we're going to give you a bunch of numbers to look at so you can make your best estimation on what your time is worth. So a couple ways that you can get that number. We're going to just do a salary estimation, and we're going to talk about what you are actually making. So assuming you've been in business for a fair amount of time, being at least 12 months, you know what you actually made, and you know how many hours you work a week. So think about that, and think about the hours you want to work a week, not really the hours that you are working a week, because we're gonna kind of get to like a happy medium. So we're gonna do actual and desired and necessary. So the actual is what you're currently doing. So you might be working 80 hours a week. You only want to work 20, but realistically, maybe 50 or 60 is where you need to be. So think about that. Think about what you're actually making a year. So if you're making $100,000 a year, but you want to make 150, those are going to be the two different numbers between actual and desired. And you're going to calculate the rate will get calculated for you, but it's based upon essentially, we're going to just do a pretty simple, whatever the amount is, the number of hours a week. And we're just going to say, the last thing you're going to fill in is the actual number of weeks that you're working. So this will all make a little more sense when we do the worksheet video, but you're going to have the, again, the type, the amount, number of hours worked per week, and the number of weeks of work a year of work that you are doing. And then lastly, we're going to do what's necessary. So you are making 100, you want to make 150, but you could get by on 75. So put that in there, what you think that you could do at a bare minimum in terms of making that 75, your desired hours, and the number of weeks of work. That's going to spit out 3 different numbers for you in terms of what those different hourly rates are, as well as a weighted average, which we can use later. The next thing that we're going to talk about is researched rates. So this is something that's a little bit easier if you are in a service industry like consulting or accounting or something like that, where charging by the hour is common. If you sell products or something a little less traditional, you're going to want to maybe use some industry averages for that. So, cost of goods should be this. My labor percentage should be this. Like at the end of the day, I should be able to take home this if I'm doing everything correctly. So you're going to want to start thinking about that in terms of the different estimates that you can do. So that's based upon your own research of the industry and internally what you think you could make. And then do some competitive analysis. What do others in your industry make? What's the industry average? Grab a couple different competitors if you can, a couple different regions. Maybe you might need to adjust based upon cost of living, things like that. And then when you're kind of boil it all down, when you're going to get a bunch of different numbers at the end of this, and it's going to be a lot of the stuff you've already calculated. This is just going to help you later, but it's going to give you all of these different various rates that you can use to build or create an estimate of what your running rate is, what you should charge by the hour for your work. And this might be a little lower than you expect, but you have to realize that you're not working of the 50 hours a week that you are quote unquote working. You might not actually be working 50 hours a week. It's a rough estimate. So we're going to have a high number and a low number, and you're going to come up with a number that's somewhere in between. So that we're going to give you some suggestions on that worksheet once you're complete based upon everything that you had entered. And then you're just going to enter in what your running rate is. And then that is going to be it. We are going to get into the everything that you do outside of work. And so this is going to be friends and family time. This is going to be obligations that you have. And it's going to be a little more subjective. So it's going to be a little bit harder to calculate, but we'll walk you through that. And before you know it, you're going to be in part 3, where you are doing a full-time audit and actually calculating what your time is worth.